Welcome to the Slut Next Door podcast, where we dive deep into desire, unravel kinks and fetishes, and explore the deliciously naughty side of self discovery. I'm Beatrix Vale, an erotic audio creator, and your guide to all things kinky and curious. So let's begin. Today, I want to talk to you about something that's been on my mind. And if you have been following me closely, you know why this has been on my mind. But this is about power, control, and what it actually means to build something that belongs to you. So, we live in a world where most creators are building on platforms they don't own. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about what that costs. And not just in business terms, but in terms of actual autonomy. So today I'm sharing what I've learned about that, about how power actually works in these systems, and about why I've made the choices I've made to take my power back. This is less about what you should do and more about how I think about it. But I think you'll recognize something in here. And before I really get into this podcast topic, I'm going to talk about what's currently making me feel like a goddess. I created this segment because I genuinely believe that goddess energy isn't something that just happens to you. You have to tend to it and you have to notice it and feed it. So every episode, I take a second to share what's been doing that for me. And what's currently making me feel like a goddess is something that's related to today's topic. It is the creative control that I've had to really think about and really grab onto over my own infrastructure and my business as an audio creator. Something happened recently with one of my it was my biggest platform. And it was ripped away from me just like that. And when that happens, you want to talk about not feeling like a goddess. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it just really sucks. And, instead of talking about why it hurt and, oh, pity me type deal that I could do and that I did do, I'm going to talk about what I've done after that. After my power was taken away. It didn't really take me long. It maybe took me less than 24 hours, and I grabbed the situation by the balls per se, and I just did what I had to do. I started new systems. I looked at all my other platforms. I communicated with my fan base, and I took back a little control, even though, I did feel a lot from that platform being taken away from me. But it makes me feel like a goddess. That didn't knock me down. It could have easily knocked me down, and I could have been like, oh, life is over. Oh, well, it was a good run, whatever. Or I could still be bitching about it and complaining about it, and I'm not. And that's power. I mean, that is goddess energy right there, being able to take something that was very, I hate to use the word traumatic, but it was traumatic for me. And it was scary and it was frustrating. But to take that and take control of the situation that I initially didn't have any control over. And, that really does make me feel like a goddess. It makes me feel like I have power and that I'm a badass. So that's what's currently making me feel like a goddess. Now, with that said, let's go into the podcast topic. How platform power actually works. Okay. And so when I'm talking about platforms, I'm talking about anything from social media, but especially platforms like subscription sites. So, the ones that we all know, OnlyFans, Loyal Fans, Fansly, Patreon, those type of sites, clip stores. But these platforms are built around the same like basic infrastructure. So you post content, subscribers pay for access, the platform takes a cut and handles the payment processing. Seems very simple, functional, and it's given creators genuine reach, created a sort of economy for creators. But that infrastructure comes with terms, and sometimes they're like invisible terms. And I think most people probably don't read the terms of service like every single word. I mean, they keep them very convoluted, and half of it doesn't even make sense because it's in that legal language, But those terms give the platform absolute discretion over what stays and what goes. So, how it works is you agree to terms of service document, and that document is written entirely in the platform's favor. It gives them the right to moderate content, interpret policy however they choose, and unfortunately, to terminate your account at their discretion. And, from my own experience and then hearing from other creators as well, usually it's with minimal notice, that termination. But here's the catch. So those terms of service aren't static. Every platform I've been on updates their terms on a consistent basis. So they update them, they reinterpret them, they create new policies, and typically so I'll give you a little background story. So one platform in particular I'm thinking about, ever since I had been on that site, the terms, I would say, changed several times. And so when you go to see what has changed, you can't tell. They haven't highlighted what's changed. They haven't pointed it out. No one really explains it for you. You just have to like figure out what what changed from last time. It's a little confusing, to be honest. And so when these policies change, or even policies that hadn't changed, so like creators will find out about those changes when they start seeing maybe not reinforcement, when they start seeing enforcement of the new policy or an old policy. I mean, I've watched this happen. I've experienced myself. I've seen other creators talk about. You'll get flagged for something another creator is also doing. And that will be very confusing and very frustrating, because it's like, well, so and so, I can see they're doing that, so why is it wrong for me? There are times when I have gone to platforms and I'll search for a particular kink, or theme to make sure like other people are doing them. If they are, to me, that communicates, okay, well, this is allowed. If nothing comes up, that's going to tell me, oh, well, this theme, isn't allowed here. But, the enforcement, when it happens, it seems totally random and it's just confusing. And then, is there an appeal process? Typically not. Typically it's this is our decision. Sometimes you get no say in it. Or it's just like, we're going to remove your content, or we're going to remove your account totally. And, that leaves you as a creator with no actual recourse. So a policy might say one thing, and then the enforcement of said policy can mean something completely different. And then there's this like massive gap between what the terms actually say and how they're actually applied. And, the sad part is that gap is where creators live, often holding their breath. And so the frustration isn't really just about being moderated. It becomes, and this is just like a personal thing, it's the moderation that seems inconsistent and not understanding the actual rule that you broke, or watching other creators do the same thing and it stays up while you got in trouble for it or deactivated for it. And so again, it's just totally confusing. And I think the reason that platforms can get away with this is very simple. I mean, they own the distribution. They own the relationship with your audience. They own the data. And I think a lot of these platforms want to say that you're a partner with them. But I think the reality is you're a contractor, and you can be terminated, thrown away at will. Doesn't matter. And the terms that you agreed to give them that right. And I understand that they're dealing with a lot of heat. The credit card processing companies, I mean, it's crazy. I can't even begin to pretend I know what they are. I mean, I know what they are a little bit, but I'm sure they feel a lot of pressure from them, especially in the adult industry. The whole credit card processing thing, there's a lot of rules and there's a lot of guidelines, and they're constantly changing all the time. But, from my perspective as a creator, as a person, doing the work that gives these platforms the power that they have, everything I say is going to be coming from there. So I'm going to go into the topic of the real cost of platform dependency. And I never know if other creators listen to this. Like, I'm sure if you're a fan of mine, you're like, okay, Beatrix, this is pretty boring. I don't know. Maybe I know that some of my audience loves to hear the business side of what I do. But I do hope that some creators do listen to this, because this is such crucial. And this was tested for me here recently. You have to diversify your platforms, because if your primary income comes from one sole platform, you are just simply one policy change away from losing everything. A policy update, reinterpretation of existing rules, enforcement that you don't really or ever will understand. And boom, your income disappears overnight with a snap of fingers. And the scary part too is then if you haven't been doing work in the background of owning your audience, and what I mean by that is, let's say you find me on another platform, right? On OnlyFans or Loyal Fans, whatever. And that's where we talk. That's you know me on there, and that's it. Now, if you don't have my socials, if I don't have a website, if that platform goes away, I go away, you go away, and that's that. There is no relationship beyond that. And so if you lose your platform, your community scatters and that relationship that you've built with your audience is gone. And that's because as a creator, you're building it on land that you don't control. And this is the actual business model of the creator economy. It's a little bit like an illusion of independence. And I think that the more I'm in these places, platforms aren't really in the business of supporting creators. I think they're in the business of managing liability. And so every creator becomes a potential legal or a reputational risk. And so enforcement systems default to removal because they're just trying to save their platform. And it's safer from their perspective. So, this account is now, just for an example, this account is now violating this policy. So let's just remove them. Let's get them off the site so that mean, evil credit card processing company isn't mad at us, and we don't lose everyone. But that safety actually costs you as a creator, because then you have so much vulnerability. And so, if you've been, let's say, on a platform for years and you've poured your creative energy, your voice, your intimacy with your audience into a space that can disappear at any moment, and for reasons you're not even allowed to fully understand, that's scary. I mean, that is super vulnerable moment. You've built your livelihood on infrastructure that you don't own. You don't even control it. You can't protect it. And it's happening everywhere. It's not just the adult spaces like OnlyFans or Patreon. It's even in the safer workspaces like Twitch or YouTube or creators on TikTok. One little change in that landscape that you've been tending to could just ruin you. And I hear the stories all the time. I experience them on the way. You learn these lessons the hard way, that your one policy change, one algorithm shift, one report away from losing everything. And these platforms can change the rules. I mean, they can reinterpret rules. They can enforce rules inconsistently, and you have no say in any of it. And so what we're actually agreeing to when we build on these platforms is this. It's like you can use our infrastructure to reach an audience, but we own the relationship with that audience. We own the distribution. We own the data, and we can revoke your access whenever we decide you're a liability. And so that's what we're working inside of. And I think until creators actually have leverage, until there's like real competition, choices, or even consequences, nothing changes. But here is something that I am learning. And going back to that goddess energy I started the episode with, I think having leverage is outside of the platform. It's something that you build for yourself. Okay. And so now let's talk about how you do that. And it takes a little hustle. It is having a Discord community, having a community, say on Telegram, having an email list, being active on social media, owning your fan base. And I'm sure there's people out there that are like, hey, Beatrix, why don't you just sell your content on your own site? I wish it were that easy. I have to worry about, and this is where those platforms have power, is they have figured out where they can host this adult content. They have, I don't know the language, but if I am receiving funds for adult services or whatever, for adult content, there's rules, there's guidelines. That's why those terms of service exist for the platforms. And the credit card companies just want to make sure that, when money is being funneled through, we're hitting whatever laws or guidelines, whatever it is. So that's where I get stuck on, hey, why don't I just start my own website? Whatever. I can't. I could if I had a lot of money, if I had a team of lawyers or something. I don't know. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. So something I have learned recently is to just own your fan base. Something recently happened to me that was very scary. And I was so thankful that I had, for example, my Discord server, that I had my own website, because I was able to give updates through my website. I was able to give updates through Discord. If I didn't have these things, my audience would just be scrambling to find me. I would have no idea where to find them. So it becomes super important that if we are living on rented land, or whatever that saying is, we have to own our audience outside of it. That becomes extremely crucial. So many things become crucial. Like I'm sitting here thinking about SEO. Like if you're able to Google my name, are you able to find my website right away and not have to sort through other things? As a creator, it's important to have one name. You know what I mean? Like I'm Beatrix Vale. If I was Beatrix Babes on some site, but I was Beatrix Vale on this site, that becomes confusing for SEO. And then, so just a lot of things become important, that you become an established brand. And this is going back to when I laid out my business kind of model on this podcast. I think you guys enjoyed it so well, my fans, because I think it helped open your eyes that this isn't just me hopping on a microphone and using my sexy voice. There is so much more. It really does become a business if you're trying to, turn this into a business, of course. But, as a creator, I learned, it just became very apparent to me. I have to own my audience, and my audience wants to be owned by me. I mean, it starts to become a whole thing like, F the man. We don't need him. They were on that site for me, most of them. They weren't there for the site. It was for me. That's where, I'd put a lot of effort into this particular site. But anyway, let me talk about something a little more positive, actually. So, if you haven't been following me, if you have no idea what's happened, I haven't made it a secret. I've lost. Well, there was an issue with one of my platforms, and so it made me look at other platforms. And before I go into that, actually, thankfully, I had diversified my platforms before all this because I had heard that from other creators, and I thought, that's actually really smart because I did see where, if I just use one single platform, that's not smart because I do know that I could lose that at any point. If one day one of these platforms said, oh, we can't even say mommy dom anymore, I'm screwed. Yes, I know. Even just working in this adult industry is risky. And let's not get started with the whole hypnosis thing. So anyway, I diversify because I know how smart that is. So, even though I lost a platform, I still had platforms that existed. But to replace that one, because that's where I did a lot of my communication, as in DMs. So I needed something to replace that. So I started looking around and I found a site called FanView. And I had heard of it before, but I never really looked into it. I am such a huge fan. What a beautiful site. I mean, I cannot praise it enough. I'll tell you the first thing I noticed right away was their support. Oh my gosh. I actually got responses, and I don't know why this sticks out to me, but I actually feel like I'm talking to a person and they send gifts. I don't know why that matters to me, but it's adorable. They make me laugh. But I can tell I'm speaking to a real person, and not just some little pre-populated response, that someone's clicking a button on, actual people. And the first time I reached out to them, they messaged back in less than a minute. It was kind of crazy to me. An actual conversation from a real person. This is so exciting. And then here's another beautiful thing. On their site, they have this function that's called the account health page. Okay. And so it's this dashboard where you can visibly see where you stand with the platform, literally see it. This is where your warnings will appear, if you broke a rule or something, or they had to remove a piece of content. You totally understand your account status. You know the risk before, bigger decisions are made. You're not just waiting with bated breath for a deactivation email. I mean, I have to say, I don't think that exists on any other platform I've been on. Account health. I mean, just so good. And then the UI itself is so modern. Oh my God. I love logging into it because it's so clean and so modern. It doesn't feel like it was built in the 2010s and just has barely been updated. It's so good. It has tracking links, so I can use a link on social media and I can see how many people have clicked on that link. They have that within the site. They have all these analytics and tools that help me understand like my business on that platform. And here's what so mattered to me. I'm going to say that they approached a policy with me that felt different and felt like really meaningful and real. So I had a particular question about the use of AI images. Okay, so I mean, I have a podcast episode about who AI mommy is. So I use a physical AI image for my brand. I don't have videos of AI mommy. It literally is just there for audio covers. Go listen to that episode if you haven't already. So I definitely had questions about that when I joined the site. So I reached out directly and I said, can we talk about this? Like, I need to know everything. Okay. And so I was in a conversation with this woman on their support team, and she didn't throw a policy document at me. I mean, I'm pretty sure she copy pasted something from their terms, but she actually had a conversation with me about it. I mean, she actually took the time to explain what it meant, why it's there, made sense, it was like, here's what you need to understand. Here's what she even said, if you need me to look at any images, please feel free to send them to me. My mind was blown. I mean, truly, no one has ever talked to me that like personally through a platform before, ever. So I was able to understand that, sure, Beatrix, you can use AI images here, but your AI image, we have to be able to clearly identify that you and your likeness is what built this AI image, as in what I took it to mean is we need to be able to look at your ID that you use to join this site to prove, you are a person of age, like my ID is on file with them. We need to be able to prove that the images that you're using on your profile can be linked to the person that is on your ID. And so I'm like, okay, well that makes sense. Like, yes, okay, thank you. I can comply with that easily, because I understand. You've explained it to me. And so, that's been a new part of my journey, is, because as an audio creator, I've spent a lot of time being a faceless mystery, and I've been forced to, no one forced me, but, with a recent issue that happened, I was kind of forced to reevaluate that and to allow myself to feel more confident selling my work, monetizing my work. It feels more confident for me to not be faceless. And so within FanView, you can see me. And it feels really, I'm going to say, it feels really fucking good. It really does. It's been scary, but it's been good. I feel really positive about it. It has felt, because if you follow my podcast, I've been on a journey of like owning my shit, like coming out to my family as in what I do. And this just feels like even more coming out, like, okay, world, this is me. This is it. And it has felt really positive. So, FanView, I have been super impressed. It's a brand new piece of the puzzle of my business. And I couldn't be more happy with it. It's amazing. I've only been there like for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, something like that. So we'll see. But so far, so good. So far, so good. For real. Um, and so if you're part of my community, you know that this is the place where you come to talk with me. It's not a place where you're going to subscribe and access a bunch of content. I do have that through other platforms like Subscribestar or directly through me. Um, FanView is more so, hey, this is where you can message me. You can subscribe, and I'm going to show you like behind the scenes stuff like tarot readings and me, physically me, just behind the scenes type stuff, some audio, but it's definitely not content heavy like the other places I've been. But I love it. And you can follow for free. You can message for free. I'm definitely not going to be sitting at my in my messages all day waiting for people to reply to me because I'm not a service provider. That's not really. I've really focused on content creation, and so, but I do still find value and importance in connecting with my fan base. So FanView, that's the avenue. That's where it happens. Again, it's if you're familiar with these platforms, I think you will also be impressed with this platform. I am, and I can't wait to hear more from my actual people that have been around a while. I can't wait to hear from them and how they feel about it as a platform. I know I'm impressed, like highly impressed. And lastly, I'll talk about too. I started Beatrix Direct, where I'm kind of like, you know what? I'm going to own my fan base even more. Like I'm going to own them so fucking hard. Um, I have started to where, I'm still cleaning it up, still uploading to it. But I've started to where I have uploaded my content into private areas in a Discord server and in Telegram. And people can pay me directly, not even using a platform. Now, I'm still using the platform of Discord. I'm still using the platform of Telegram. But, the piece of you paying for the content is directly through me. Now, it does take, like I said, a little extra work, a lot of organization, but it feels like some goddess shit. It really does. It really, really does. So recently I've really had to consider, how I'm offering these things to my people. And, the point of this whole episode is just how much power we do give these platforms, sadly, but it's the reality, So I'll close us with these final thoughts, just concluding everything too. The biggest thing is you really can't build your entire home on rented land. Platforms are tools, and they're really useful tools. I mean, they really do. They have reach. They have audiences. They handle the payment processing, but at the end of the day, they aren't your home. They aren't your primary relationship with your audience, and they really can't be your only source of income, especially like one single platform. And if you're a creator listening to this, your actual work is building outside the platform, because this isn't a message of, fuck the platforms, they suck. Like they really are great tools, but you have to do work outside of them, and that's through email lists or Discord communities. Knowing your subscribers are real people that want to support you, and they're not just account numbers on someone else's server. It becomes super important to create ways for them to access you, where you don't have to depend on the platform for that. And diversification is important. It's building actual power. Because when you're only on one platform, you have no leverage. When you build across multiple spaces with direct relationships to your audience, you become harder to erase, and you become less of a liability to any single platform because you're not totally dependent on them. So, I believe that this is how you survive in the creator economy. Not just hoping that that the platforms stay stable, not by trusting their good intentions, because at the end of the day, you're just another creator. I believe they don't truly care about us because there's so many. But you've got to build your infrastructure that is yours, and you have to maintain your relationships and creating multiple pathways so that a single platform can't rip it all away. And you have to start doing that now if you haven't already. You got to build the diversification and own your audience, and that's where your actual power lives. So I want to thank you for listening to this episode. If you don't know anything about me, visit my website, missbeatrix.com. I also have a link page in this episode description. Definitely find me on FanView if you're interested in connecting with me, getting to know me. I try to share as much as I can on there, and I love getting to know you. That link will be on my website and on the link page that I have linked below. Again, thank you for listening, and until next time. And that's a wrap for this episode of The Slut Next Door, where we dive deep into the raw, unapologetic truths of human desire. If you loved what you heard today, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a juicy moment. Want to connect with me outside the podcast? Click the link in my bio where you can find lots of juicy content and options. Until next time, I'm Beatrix Vale, your Slut Next Door. And I'll see you in the next episode.